I've been redoing this hat that I machine knitted a couple years ago again over the past few days. It really shouldn't take more than a few hours to do it, but I was busy with other things. I machine knitted a panel on the Sentro, the one with 48 hooks. Is it called hooks? Whatever you call it. There was 48 of them. And then it was 41 by 64 panel. That number was important so that there would be an equal amount of spaces between each heart. There were 4 hearts and 3 gaps in between each heart, or 3 stitches in between each heart. If you don't know how to use a circular knitting machine, there are tons of videos on this site showing you how. It's not too hard. Maybe I'll make a really quick video showing how I do that in the near future. I don't know. I will give brief instruction on how to do a duplicate stitch. I do hope this makes sense. But to do a duplicate stitch, get you some yarn of a similar weight and texture. Don't make it too long because then it gets hard to kind of deal with. But like a good 10 to 12 inches should work. And also make sure to leave a tail for both ends. You come up from under, so from the wrong side with your yarn. You will need a yarn needle for this. So you come up from the wrong side with your thread from just below the stitch you want to duplicate. Then you come up and you go under the 2 stitches above the stitch you want to duplicate. And then you go back into the first hole you came out of. I hope that makes sense. I will show me doing this several times and hopefully it will make sense. To do this heart pattern, whether you're going from right to left or left to right, I don't think it really matters because it's symmetrical. So for the first column, you're doing 3 stitches, and then the next column, you do 5 stitches, but make sure the first and last stitch is one above and one below the column with 3 stitches. And then when you move to that third column, it's also 5 stitches, but the bottom stitch is one below and the top stitch is also one below. I'm reading this as if we're doing right to left. And then in column 4, there are 4 stitches. And we make sure the very bottom stitch is one below the bottom stitch of the one to the right. And then for column 5, there's 5 stitches, and we make sure the bottom stitch is one above the stitch to its right. And then for column 6, it's 5 stitches. Again, we make sure the bottom stitch is one above the bottom stitch on the column to its right. And then for the last part, the last column, number 7, it's 3 stitches, just like the first column. We make sure the bottom stitch is one above the bottom stitch in the column to its right. And again, it's 3 stitches. Once you finish, it should look like a heart. And then you skip 3 stitches and you do the same thing over again. Just make sure that the 2 columns with 3 stitches are level with each other. So when the hat's finished, it won't look lopsided. Once I'm finished dealing with all the loose ends from all the duplicate stitching I was doing, which shouldn't be too hard because it doesn't have to be very neat. This hat is like doubled over, so any loose ends is going to be inside the hat. Just cut them short because the pink from the duplicate stitching will show through if it's not dealt with. Then I do a mattress stitch to join each end of the panel to make a tube. There are a lot of videos on this site and on other sites that show you how to do a mattress stitch. It's very easy and it looks very natural. You don't even notice that there's a stitch. That's why I prefer to do that to join things together when I'm knitting. Okay, I didn't mention this, but I left the ends to both sides unfinished because I got another piece of white yarn that matched the color of the hat and got my yarn needle, strung that up, and pulled it through the bottom and the top part of the hat, alternating each side so that they would match up correctly. And then what's so great about these hats, you don't have to finish the ends. You can just tie it up really tight and kind of sew it together, make a little knot, and then be done with it. It's incredibly easy. You don't have to worry about starting the top of the hat and making it look like or match the shape of a head. That's what I really like about machine knit hats, or machine knitting, is that it makes making hats very simple. So yeah, that's how I made this hat with hearts on it. The second time I did this, the hearts were a lot lower than the first time. The second time, the hearts ended on row 30. I think the first time I did it, I had it a few rows higher. Whether you want to go about 5 or 6 rows higher, or keep it at row 30 so it's at the brim of the hat, I think it's down to personal preference. So how did you think my hat came out? If you're interested in seeing me make different things, whether it's crocheting or knitting, you should like this video and even subscribe to me. I do hope to make more videos and more frequent videos doing stuff like this. Alright, thanks for watching.